what is happening in Rafah in Gaza as we speak, the last city, town, municipality, whatever you want to call it, that seems to be standing in Gaza?
Murder, straight up murder, genocide, war crimes, human depravity, evil. That's what's happening. The Israelis are in the business of killing innocent civilians for the purpose of driving 1.6 million people out of Gaza into the Sinai Desert, depopulating Gaza so that they can terminate Gaza as a Palestinian entity. So this is what's happening. This isn't war. Now, Israel will say, we're going after 4 Hamas battalions that are in Rafah. Well, then why do you drop bombs on civilian tent cities? Because there's civilians there. You're dropping the bombs on the cities. By the way, the civilian tent cities that you dropped leaflets saying, go build a tent city in Rafah, that's a safe place. You'll be safe there. So 1.6 million people did so. They're there. Then you starve them out. You tried to starve them out, Israel. You deny them humanitarian goods. You deny them food, medicine, horrific living conditions, but they stay there nonetheless. And then you drop bombs on them. Then you kill them. You slaughter them. You murder them. And guys, this isn't Hollywood death. This isn't, the bomb goes off and somebody, dramatically falls on the ground. And this is ripping bodies apart, bodies of children, bodies of women, bodies of pregnant women, bodies of old men, innocent people. Their bodies are being torn asunder, ripped into tiny little pieces by the Israelis for the sole purpose of terrorizing, intimidating 1.6 million people into fleeing for their lives. Israel's trying to create the conditions where they say, you have no choice. If you stay in Rafah, you will die. And here, we'll kill 150 more of you tonight just to prove that point. And the world's doing nothing. Nothing. Silence. In the United States, we're supposed to be this moral entity. We're supposed to set the moral standard. Silence while this murder is taking place in our name with our weapons by people we call allies. So this evil that I say, resides in Israel, it resides right here at home in the United States. Any American elected representative, indeed any American citizen who tolerates this, you're evil. Straight up. Just acknowledge it.
So I guess the only way the IDF can be stopped, the slaughter can be stopped, is by some outside force. It's not going to happen with domestic politics.
Israel today is a nation composed 100% of radical Zionists who believe in from the river to the sea. I mean, it's amazing how they condemn the Palestinians for making this chant, but it's okay for Israel to say it, and they say it openly now. So yes, you get rid of Netanyahu. Maybe you can get some people to come in who will not be as vigorous in supporting the illegal settlements in West Bank. But the bottom line is, if you're in Israel today, that means you tolerate the policies of Israel. You tolerate the anti-Palestinian policies. You don't want a Palestinian state, and you support this ongoing genocide against the Palestinian people. So yeah, you get rid of Netanyahu. You're just going to replace him with somebody who doesn't carry the same legal baggage domestically. But I'll tell you this, they're all war criminals, and the day of retribution will come. If not at the hands of the Palestinians, Hamas, or Hezbollah, at the international community. Israel is becoming a pariah nation. Brazil just severed diplomatic relations with Israel, and I think that more nations will do so as well. Because, again, what Gantz was saying, we will try to minimize civilian casualties. No, you won't, Benny. You're a liar. You slaughter them. You don't care about them. You don't view them as human. And we have the videotapes to prove it.
One other story to relate to you. This airman that immolated himself in front of the Israeli embassy, Aaron Bushnell, our friend and colleague, Max Blumenthal, who's a latter-day Seymour Hersh when it comes to digging things up.
Yeah.
Found his orders. There it is. That he was ordered to be ready on a moment's notice to deploy to Israel. And it was, listen, I don't defend suicide. I don't defend what he did, but the American people need to understand it, and the media needs to address it. Not with an Israeli flag waving in the background like NBC did, and not without stating what it was about, like look at those headlines. like all the major newspapers in the U.S. did. Only Haaretz gave a headline that said what it was truly about, in protest of American support of Gaza war. But the American public needs to know what we didn't know until Max reported this a few hours ago. That American airmen have been told to get ready on a moment's notice to deploy, and it's mandatory. As soon as we tell you, you'll go. And this, put it up again, Chris, I think it was November when this, there's a date on there somewhere.
21 November 2023.
There you go. Your thoughts?
You know, it's interesting when you go through this man's social media. He has a posting that says, a lot of people wonder, there it is. Many of us like to ask ourselves, what would I do if I were alive during slavery or the Jim Crow South or apartheid? What would I do if my country was committing genocide? And the answer is, you're doing it right now, which is nothing. This is the harshest indictment of American citizens that has been put out there by anybody in modern times. And it's done by an airman of the United States Air Force. He has exposed the American people for the moral hypocrites that we collectively are. We claim to be somebody who, you know, is a nation who stands for right, doing the right thing. And we all sit there and speak of this. But how many Americans have actually got off their butts and gone out and done something? You know, at least, you know, I'm not perfect, but at least when I say I want to improve relations between the United States and Russia, I get off my ass and I travel to Russia and I put it all on the line and trying to improve relations. I'm doing my best effort. There's other people out there to do the same thing for Gaza, doing the same thing. But the vast majority of the Americans are sitting at home doing nothing. And I think this man, this kid, who has apparently a moral conscience that is just consumed him. He's somebody who just said, I've got to do something. And he looked at the examples of history. I mean, if you study war, you know, one of the more telling moments during the Vietnam War is when the Buddhist monk immolated himself in protest of the conflict. It's an act that many people would say is an act of desperation, but how desperate was this kid? He had orders to go to Israel in a war that he couldn't support. He's on active duty. He has to obey these orders. And how, you know, so does he bottle this up inside and say, well, I'm against all this, but I'm going to do my job. I'm going to do my duty. Well, apparently he couldn't. But then he said, what do I do about this? How do I let everybody know about this moral, you know, crisis that faces not just me, but all of America? And he burned himself to death. I wouldn't do it. I don't have the courage to do that. There's no way I would do that. But and a lot of people say, well, he's mentally unbalanced. Maybe. What I say is this man's a freaking hero. Excuse my language, but this is a guy who believed in something, and he paid the ultimate price to send a message, to get people to talk and reach in deep inside and say, what am I going to do about this genocide that's being committed in our name, our collective name? And it's not just being committed in our name. Our government's actively complicit. And that makes us, we the people of the United States of America, you know, this democratic republic that we have, we elected these people to act in our name, and they're doing things in our name that is criminal, that is genocidal. What are we going to do about it? And as he said, many people talk about it. They say, what would we do? Ask yourselves, everybody watching the show, look in the mirror. What would you do? And the answer is, you're doing it. Nothing.